We talked a little bit about AI and medical writing. Now I want you to start thinking about setting up your freelance medical writing business. This is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's a little different in terms of what type of writing they like, but there are some things that you should consider right now. As we go through the course, you can be thinking of them so that you're ready to launch your business. So the first thing that you need to think about is to clarify your niche and services. You'll have a better idea of what those might be once we go through all the different types of writing, then do some feedback tests, and you'll get a sense of what you enjoy and what you gravitate towards. But you will want to decide whether you do regulatory writing, medical education, manuscript development, medical news. What kind of science background do you have? Can you write about many different topics? Are you a neurologist? Are you a pediatrician? What is your background, and what 3 to 5 topics do you think that you'll focus on mainly, even though you can write probably about many different topics? So just be thinking about that. Decide on the exact services you'll offer based on your strengths, training, and interests. And right now it might be a little hazy about what that is, but you'll gravitate towards certain types of writing and offerings as you go through the course and as you start taking on your first projects. You want to build a brand. You don't have to have a major brand or anything developed really to start doing effective medical writing. One of the places I like to go first to start any business or build any brand is coolors.co, coolors.co. There are many different types of color palette places, but this one's good. It's free, and you can make a color palette. You can also go to Palette Generator and see what kinds of colors. It's just good to have that set out in case you want to create a logo or website colors, whatever those may be. Right now I'm pressing the space bar and it will generate different palettes for you. So that's a good tool. You can also create a logo if you want. You don't need a logo, but you can create one. I would not pay a graphic designer to do one. If you are not particularly good at graphic design, you can always go to Canva, and they have lots of different types of logos that you can emulate, and you can apply your colors to them, and that's very easy. And then you do want to think about a website name, and I'll talk a little bit about LinkedIn as a potential replacement for having a website, but I think if you're going to be a real business, you should have a real website. And a place to get your domain name and the hosting that I like is dreamhost.com. There's other places like HostGator, Bluehost, and many different types. So just Google that. But I like DreamHost. I used to recommend Bluehost, but it got very expensive on me. And DreamHost is a little cheaper and still works well. And then obtain a business email address and purchase a professional website domain. There's nothing wrong with using a Gmail address for your business. That's totally fine. And then once you have visited DreamHost or whatever hosting service you're using, you can purchase a domain name there. Then you also want to think about your website. There are many different ways to build a website, and it's gotten a lot easier than it used to be, for sure. Now, one solution is to get somebody that you know to design a website. Many people know somebody that can design a website. But if you want to do it yourself, WordPress and Elementor is a good way to do it yourself and have a lot of control over it. There's a bit of a learning curve, but it's not completely impossible. And that's how I like to design websites. There's a really good person on YouTube that does a really good YouTube video. And on the video where you're watching this, I will have this on a downloadable sheet so you can copy this URL and go to it. And that's as I'm recording it. He updates them regularly. So just keep an eye out for this guy on YouTube. Another option is Squarespace. It is intuitive in that it's drag and drop, but it is a bit of a learning curve. I've used it and it's not as good with SEO as a WordPress website, and many of the tools that you can use, they call them plugins that you would use for a WordPress site. You don't have that option with Squarespace. So overall, I might not recommend it, although I do know some people who've designed some nice websites on Squarespace, and you can see the different features and pricing here. And then Wix is also another way. It's pretty easy, but I don't like the Wix websites, the way they generate it. And I think the lower paying levels have sort of ads and they have the Wix branding on them. And I don't really find that to be as professional as I'd want. Although I do know people who've designed websites on Wix and it's fine as a solution. You can check it out. And then Hostinger, I've never used this, but it's an option and it uses AI tools to generate site content and design layouts quickly. And it's not too expensive, has other features as well. So you could check those different options out to build your website. You don't have to get that done right away. And you absolutely can use LinkedIn as your main presence. But like I said, it is good to have a website eventually, for sure. So for LinkedIn, you want to create or update your LinkedIn profile. You can't have a second one, right? So if you already have a LinkedIn profile as a doctor or a scientist, that's been your career. You sort of have to decide how you're going to handle that. Do you want your peers to know that you're doing medical writing now or doing that on the side? You have to consider that because you can only have one LinkedIn profile. But you can definitely tailor it towards medical writing, and it's good to have a bunch of scientific medical background on your medical writing profile as well. And then if you want to learn how to do a LinkedIn profile, I would definitely go to linkedin.com/learning. I think you can get a free trial of that, but it's about $30 a month for LinkedIn Learning for all of their different courses. And this is by LinkedIn and it's a course on LinkedIn, so it's going to be good, you would expect. They will tell you the most updated information of what you need to know to create an effective profile, and I would definitely recommend doing that. It's probably one of the most important marketing steps you can do. And then once you have your profile up, you want to put some of your writing up there too. The next thing you want to do is establish your income goals. Definitely write them down, have them in mind. How much do you need to make a year? Do you need to make six figures? Okay, divide that by 250 working days a year. And how much is that per day? It is $400 a day. So $400 a day, how can you do that? Do you need to write four news pieces a day? Do you need to work 4 hours a day at $100 an hour? And that's every working day, so you need to make sure you have enough work. So just try to visualize exactly how much it is. Maybe you need to make a little more money than that. How much savings do you have? How are you transitioning? Are you going to work part-time as a medical writer and part-time at your previous career? So it's really good to devise a plan for yourself. Only you can know what that is. But I will tell you, even in the slightly crazy times I'm recording this in early 2025, I think that it's going to be just fine for medical writers, at least for the near future. AI is impacting and will impact our career, but I think that so far it hasn't really taken income away from anybody. And right now, my little old freelance business is quite busy, as are many people who I know are freelancers. So it's good. But you do need to have a plan of how much you need to make. If you have more savings, then obviously you have probably 3 to 6 months to get this business off the ground, which I think is absolutely reasonable to do that, to start making, a full-time income if you wanted to do it full-time, if you follow what's in this 6-week course. You also want to start thinking about administrative and legal tasks that are necessary. It's not that much. You should probably set up an LLC if you plan to have a real business. Just look into the pros and cons. If you have a tax person or an accountant that you are familiar with, definitely talk to them about it. You want to set up your necessary systems for bookkeeping, invoicing, and tracking expenses. There's a lot more of that in week 6 of this course where I talk about running your business, but you'll need at least a spreadsheet to write down the projects that you have. And also, I recommend QuickBooks for keeping track so you can instantly generate a profit and loss statement. And then I would recommend keeping a separate account for your business. So you probably want to put in a couple of thousand to start your business, and that way you'll have a little money in there. And maybe you go out and buy a laptop with that. That's really the main equipment that you need. And then whatever you pay for in a hosting account, and it doesn't have to be a business account, although it can be, you'll need your LLC papers that you've set up in order to start a business account, but it can also be a separate personal account. The trick is just to keep everything separate so that you're not buying groceries out of your business account, for example. And a bookkeeper is very useful when it comes to setting up QuickBooks. QuickBooks is good once it's up and running and once you know how to categorize things, but it's a bit of a learning curve to do that, I've found yourself, unless you know what you're doing. And then start thinking about how you can develop samples. You'll get at least 4 or 5 of them out of this course. If you get through the course, you'll get feedback on your samples, and you can definitely use those to put on your website or LinkedIn profile. So that's a great start. And just as a point of interest, samples don't have to be published in order to be useful. You can write something that's in a genre that you want to get work in. People don't really care as much where it's been published or if it's online anywhere, more so that they can see your writing and what kind of work you're going to do for them. Network and connect with potential clients. You should join professional associations such as AMWA if you're in Europe, and this is ACEP, Alliance for Continuing Education in the Health Professions. That's for medical education work. It's a good organization to join. It's got lots of contacts and an annual conference that's useful to go to. And then definitely volunteer at these organizations. That's the fastest way to get in, and it will be very helpful in connecting you with other medical writers that will help you get work. And then also, you can inform your professional network about your new business through LinkedIn. And there's lots of other strategies that I'll go into, but just start thinking about that, about connecting and how you're going to get involved in the medical writing world. So, those are some things that you can start doing immediately. And I know it probably all seems overwhelming, and you are starting a new business, so that's a big deal. Just think about these things and download the checklist where you're watching this.